presentation to share with you all. And then, of course, if you have any questions at the end, I'd be more than happy to answer. So I'll get started by talking a little bit about Salem. We are the oldest women's educational institution in the U.S., founded in 1772. We're ranked the second liberal arts college in North Carolina by U.S. News and World Report, and we're also 24th in the country by Washington Monthly. We are also ranked 4th in social mobility and have a student body of about 1,000 students, and that includes transfer students as well as adult students. So with such a small student body, we have an 11-to-1 student to faculty ratio. The average class size for us is about 12 to 15 students, so it really gives you the opportunity to have a more personalized education and be able to have one-on-one relationships with your professors. We really care about our students' education and are really there to give you all the individualized attention that you need, which can be really helpful because say you're struggling in the class and you don't know how to reach out, they'll either reach out to you. It's a lot easier for them because they don't have that many students to be accountable for. They also have an open door policy on campus. So if you walk by their office, their door is open, you can just walk in and speak to them. You don't have to set up any kind of appointment. And then we also have about a 42% student body, student of color. So we're we're a very diverse institution. We have 100% acceptance rate into law school. We have many different success stories of students who have gone on to law school. One in particular, we have a student who was accepted into 9 different law schools, I believe, and then out of those, UNC Chapel Hill and Harvard were 2 of the ones that she was accepted into, and she ended up going to UNC Law. We also have a 90% acceptance rate into medical school and health-related programs. So those 2 are very competitive programs at our school, very popular. And of course, professors are very adamant about helping students be successful in those areas. For example, in the medical aspect of our classes, professors will help you do undergraduate research. They'll help you build those resumes. We do have students who have gotten their names published on peer-reviewed articles before they graduate, which really stands out on their resumes. Why a women's college? So for women who graduate from a women's college, they typically earn about $8,000 more in salary. And then students who graduate from co-ed colleges. They're also twice as likely to earn a PhD and about 1.5 times more likely to major in math, science, or pre-med than women in co-ed schools. A lot of students think when we ask for feedback about this, about why they're more likely to major in these things, a lot of the times it's because they don't have to deal with a co-ed classroom and be intimidated by, say, the guy in the back of the classroom who's always answering all the questions before she has a chance to raise her hand or something of that nature. And they do become more autonomous at a women's college because, again, there's a little bit less competition in regards to genders. Everyone is the same, so it lessens the competition, makes you more autonomous, more, I guess you could say more confident to go out there and get what you want. They're also more likely to enter male-dominated fields, again, because of everything I just said. We have over 30 majors that students can choose from in all kinds of different areas. We have in the social sciences, natural and applied sciences, arts and humanities. We also have a school of music. I will say our most popular ones are business. We do have a center downtown called the Center for Women in Entrepreneurship and Business. Downtown is only about a 10-minute walk away. It's about 4 blocks from our campus, so it's really close by. And CWeb gives students access to startup companies. They can do internships there. Many students end up getting jobs from those internships. They also can work with Hanes Brands, which is a really good opportunity. Again, like I said, pre-med and pre-law are very popular, and also education. Education is really popular at Salem. We do it a little bit differently than other schools, so we don't necessarily have an education major. So students will major in whatever area they want to teach in, and alongside of it, they get a teaching licensure. So that way, once they graduate, say they start teaching and they're like, well, you know, this isn't really what I was expecting. It's okay because they've got a whole other major that they can do whatever they want with. So they're not kind of stuck teaching if they don't want to. We also have we're Division III in sports, and we have 8 different sports that students can participate in, including volleyball, soccer, softball, tennis, cross country, swimming, lacrosse, and basketball. All of our coaches are really, really big on the family composition of their teams, and they're really adamant about making sure that education comes first. Most of our teams on campus have very high GPAs as a team together when you average those up. And again, they're really helpful. They're really understanding. If a student is an athlete, again, since we're such a small school, they give their schedule to their professor of whenever they have matches, whenever it's out of Winston-Salem or whatnot, and professors will work with them to figure that out. Sometimes, if it's possible, they may switch the class time that they're scheduled for, or meet with them outside of class, send them the PowerPoints that they went over during that day, and set up a time to meet with them if they need help going over any of that information. We also have many different student organizations on campus. Some of them include leadership and service organizations, like Leaders in Training. That's a very popular one on campus. It's for our first-year students, and typically you're nominated for it, and then it's an 8-week program where you're taught leadership skills, and then at the very end, it comes with a trip to Disney. All expenses paid. You get to go to Disney and go behind the scenes and see how Disney makes magic happen, and then you get to come back to campus and share that with your peers. It's a really fun program. A lot of students really enjoy it. We also have a Student Government Association, a campus activities board where they organize different events for campus. So if we have a spring formal, winter formal, a Halloween formal, any kind of events that they're interested in hosting, campus activities board will do. We have academic clubs, we have identity-based clubs, art clubs, we have the Purettes, which is a drama club. They do a fall play and a spring musical. For academic programs, we have a Model UN club. It's a really great club. A lot of students really enjoy it. They do go to a national conference every other year, and then the years that they don't go to this conference, they go to a conference in UNCG. So it's a really good opportunity for students to get out there and explore the things that they like. We also have religious clubs on campus. And we do have a campus chapel open to any and all students. Most faiths are covered at our chapel, and our Dr. Amy Rio, who is in charge, she can connect students if for whatever reason we don't have access to whatever faith they are part of. She will help those students get in touch with somebody. And then, like I said, there's a ton of clubs. There's, I think there's like 31 as well. But if there's a club that a student is interested in that we don't have, they are more than welcome to start one. And since we're a small college, they don't necessarily have to have a big group of students, like say 10 friends to start a club. It can be like them and their best friend that want to start a club. So it's really, really flexible with whatever they want to make it here at Salem. We also have different opportunities for learning outside of the classroom. We have different study abroad options. You can do study abroad during like a whole semester. You can do study abroad during the summer, or you can do study abroad during what we call Jan term. So the way our semesters work at Salem, you come to Salem in August. You're there for 4 months. Then you get all of December off, and then you come back in January for what's called Jan term. So for the whole month of January, you can either take a fun class, a class for your major, do an internship, or study abroad. And then in February starts spring semester, and it goes from February to May. During Jan term, there's different study abroad options that we offer to students, but say a student wants to go to France and we're not offering an option to go to France. They can speak to a professor and advisor and tell them their plan, what they want to do in France, what that has to do with their education, and typically their professor or advisor can help them get that set up. All Jan-term study abroad options are faculty-led, so it's a really good opportunity for students if they're not really sure if study abroad is going to be something they enjoy, because they won't be going by themselves. They'll be with faculty at all times, with other peers. It's not as expensive, so if they're like, well, I don't know if I'm going to like it, but I would like to try it, it's a cheaper option. It's still a great experience. They get to dip their toes in the water and see if that's something that they would like to do a little bit more long-term, like doing it for a full semester. And with that, all of our students complete an internship before they graduate, which again looks great on their resume, and a lot of these students, from that internship, they get jobs. Most students will not just complete one internship, they'll complete 3, 4, 5. We have one student who got an internship with NBC, and then that led to 3 more paid internships with them, and then she was hired to work full-time for NBC before graduating. So they called her, they said, hey, we really want to hire you. Can you come up here now, just finish your semester over here? And that's what she did. So it was a really, really great opportunity for her. We also have different service learning courses, and we have CWED, like I talked about earlier. We also have cross-registration at Wake Forest for no extra tuition. So, for example, if a student wants to take a physics course, but we don't have it, if they find it at Wake Forest, they can take it with them. And it'll come on their same transcript. They don't have to ask for a different one from Wake. It's very easy. We do have a student who completed most of her physics major at Wake because we didn't offer enough classes for her to complete it. So again, it's a really great option. We also have an interlibrary loan with Wake Forest. So if you need a book from our library and it's not there, but it's at Wake, you can borrow it from them as well at no extra cost. So in regards to our application, it's a pretty simple application. Students submit their application, submit their official high school transcript, a teacher recommendation, and a writing sample. We are test optional, so we don't need SAT or ACT scores. For their writing sample, they can write about literally anything. We like to joke around and say, you know, if you want to write about why purple is your favorite color, write about why purple is your favorite color. That's completely fine. We just really need a writing sample. And honestly, the essay is the biggest part of our application. We take a very holistic approach at looking at our applications at Salem. So we don't necessarily look for a set GPA because we know life happens. So we really sit down and look at the application in full whenever we receive it. So we're going to completely read the essay, completely read the teacher recommendation, look at every single grade that they received. Because sometimes, you know, something could have happened their sophomore year, they struggled a little bit, and then we can see that their junior and senior year, they picked up their grades, and maybe somewhere in their essay, we find, you know, okay, well, this happened their sophomore year, and this is why they struggled a little bit, or their teacher recommendation talks about, you know, maybe she was just struggling sophomore year, and then she tried harder and did very well her junior and senior year. So again, a very holistic approach. Really, the essay is what can be a determining factor. Sometimes if we're like, you know, I'm not so sure, but just by looking at your grades, I'm not so sure if we're the best place for you, then we can take a look at the essay and really get a grasp for what kind of student you are. For transfer students, we need, again, the application, official high school and college transcripts, a minimum 2.0 college GPA, a teacher recommendation, a dean's release, and a writing sample. So it's very, very similar with just a couple more materials that we need from them. For students to apply, they can use our Salem application, which is on our website. They can use Common App, or they can use CFNC, whichever one they would like. We'll take any of them. There's no application fee, and we are rolling admissions, so we do accept applications year-round. Typically, the sooner a student gets their stuff in, the sooner we can get back to them. Whenever you submit an application, we typically get back to you in 2 to 4 weeks, so it's really quick. So it's really helpful because you'll get to know really soon once you're in. But then also, once you have your application in, the sooner you do it, the sooner we can match up your FAFSA with it and give you a financial aid package so you can see what we have to offer. And that way you can see, am I going to need more scholarships? What do I need to do to be able to afford Salem? And then going off of that, we do have a merit-based scholarship. So if you're a first-year student, you can receive half tuition if you have a 3.25 GPA or above. And this does include early college students as well. We also have a transfer merit scholarship, which is very similar to it, except for transfer students, they still have to have a 3.25 GPA, but they receive $12,000. So it's slightly less, but it's still a huge gap that we're covering. For our art students, we also have the Davis Art Scholarship. It's a full tuition scholarship for art history, or design students, and there's a separate application for that. That's the only one that there's a separate application for. And they do have to come to an arts weekend and audition, and then they'll be able to get a result from that. The merit-based scholarship you don't have to apply for. As soon as you send in your application, if we see on your transcript that you have a 3.25 GPA, we just check off a box that says that you've received our merit scholarship. There's also music scholarships available, and for those you do have to audition. We also have need-based scholarships. The one we have is our Salem College Promise. That is a very, very good option for some of our students. And that one is based on your FAFSA. So you have to complete your FAFSA to know if you qualify. So you have to be a North Carolina resident to qualify for this one, and your EFC has to be below $5,000. So that if we see on your FAFSA that your EFC is between 0 and 5,000, you qualify for this, and it gives you free tuition and fees. Now with that, if they're close enough to be commuters, they don't have to worry about paying for anything really. It's like coming to college for free. You just have to worry about gas, books, and parking. If you're a commuter, you are still responsible. If you're a residential student, you're still responsible for paying for room and board, which is roughly $12,000. But there are, again, lots of outside scholarships that can cover for that. We have a list on our website that lists a ton of outside scholarships that students can have access to. And then we also offer work study options if they qualify for it. So there's lots of different ways to cover that gap if need be. And that's all I have. So now I open it up to questions from anyone.
So we can wait to see if we get any from the group chat, but we do have some questions that we'd like to ask. So can you tell us, why is your school a good option for students coming from Durham or North Carolina, the Triangle area?
Yeah, so I think we're a good option because maybe not for every student, because not every student is going to like the small environment, but if a student has been living in the Triangle area, it's a big area, and they want a more, I guess, the community, like a smaller community. Salem is the perfect place. That's, I think, one of my favorite parts about Salem is the strong sense of community. Everyone is there for you. Professors are always there for you. They're always looking out. If you miss classes and you're not responding to your professor's emails, your professor will find a way to get in touch with you and make sure that you're staying on top of things. So if they really want that, the small community, we're definitely the place to be. Anything that can be helpful for someone that's been living in such a large place for a long time.
Is your Salem Promise open to undocumented North Carolina residents?
Unfortunately not, because they do have to fill out the FAFSA to qualify, but we do have, for our undocumented students, we do offer $18,000 in grants that they don't have to pay back to us. Mm-hmm.
And does that money also apply for international students?
No, not international.
Got it. So is there any funding for international students?
No, for international students, it's a bit harder. Typically, it's hard because they want full rides, and unfortunately, we can't offer those. But no, we right now we don't have something set in place for that.
Thank you. What support is there for low-income, underrepresented students once they get to campus?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Sorry.
Yeah, so once students get to campus, what support do you have for students from low-income or underrepresented students?
Yeah, so like I said, we have a lot of different organizations. We do have academic services and support that students can go to if they need any help. Her name is Ida Turner. She's really good at connecting students wherever they need to be with whatever issue they may have. We also have Dr. Sean Ricks, who is part of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Office, and she's also a really, really good resource for those students.
How would you describe the campus culture at Salem?
Strong sense of community. There's that. I think that's what our students always talk about, is how, for example, they can. This probably goes for any college, but they can leave their stuff around in the library. They know no one's going to take it. All your professors will know your name. They'll know you. I mean, you're not just going to be a number at Salem. Our president at Salem knows mostly every student's name. She meets you one time and she knows your name right off the bat the next time she sees you. So there's a really strong sense of community. Anytime you need help, someone's there for you all the time.
How has Salem provided support for their students, especially those who live far away during the COVID-19 pandemic?
During COVID-19?
Yes.
Yeah, so we're working on, we're reaching out to every student and making sure that they have what they need. We're making sure that we set up virtual meetings. If they need them, we have our Red Life is working with, oh goodness, it's lost my, on tip of my tongue, with support services to make sure that if students are at home and they really need to talk to someone, because these are times of high stress, high anxiety, they're available. They're still available for them, even though it's virtually, it might not be in person. Professors have been really good about saying, you know, I'll talk to any student that needs to talk to me. And this doesn't only go for our current students, but also prospective students. We are reaching out to any and all prospective students that want to speak to someone. We're setting up virtual meetings, phone meetings, anything they need.
Okay. So with regard to transgender students, does Salem accept students based on their sex at birth, or how do they self-identify? Or how they self-identify?
Yes. So in order to be accepted into Salem, you do have to be assigned female at birth. However, once you're at Salem, if you choose to go through a transition, we do not kick you out or anything like that. You're still allowed to be at Salem.
And is there, what makes like a good applicant? Like, what are some of the qualities that you look for in your applicants?
I think some of our best applicants are those who have shown to be outstanding students, not only in the classroom, but in their communities as well. We have a lot of students that apply, and I mean, they've got these amazing stories of jobs they've had, internships they've had while they're in high school, volunteer opportunities that they've had. So really, anything and everything that they can share with us about things that they've done outside of high school, it's really helpful. And we have a student who published a book in high school, and she wrote about that in her application. So yeah, any kind of interesting stuff that students have going on in their lives, we'd love to hear about it, because we love to have a diverse population at our campus.
Are there any more questions from our audience? No. I don't So if there are no more questions from our audience, that's all we have. We'd like to thank you for joining us again. This was very informative. We will be sharing this recording on that same spreadsheet where we have the rest of the sessions for the month. We'd like to thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
And yeah, we look forward to future collaborations. I think we do have like one of our students who's in a different program was or is currently at Salem College. So we've had
Oh,
students from the
awesome.
center go to Salem College.
Great, yeah. And if anyone wants to reach out to me by email, I'd love that. If anyone still wants to reach out afterwards, if you have any students, feel free to give them my email. That's completely fine.
Awesome. Will do. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.